Hello again, my friends. This is Reverend Paul Jansen from United Reformed Church in Somerville, New Jersey, with a message for the first week of the season of Lent in the year 2022. This is a season in which we'll be commemorating, honoring, observing a Lent of things, of physical objects that show to us the grace of God. So this week, the item is bread, this thing, this Lenten thing. I'll be reading from the Gospel of John, the 6th chapter, verses 1 through 14. Jesus went to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, also called the Sea of Tiberias. A large crowd was following him because they saw the signs that he was doing for the sick. Jesus went up the mountain and sat down there with his disciples. Now the Passover, the festival of the Jews, was near. When Jesus looked up and saw a large crowd coming toward him, Jesus said to Philip, "Where are we to buy bread for these people to eat?" He said this to test him, for he himself knew what he was going to do. Philip answered him, 6 months' wages could not buy enough bread for each of them to get just a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, "There is a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what are they among so many people?" Jesus said to him, "Make the people sit down." Now there was a great deal of grass in the place, so they sat down, about 5,000 in all. Then Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed them to those who were seated. So also the fish, as much as they wanted. When they were satisfied, he told the disciples, "Gather up the fragments left over, so that nothing may be lost." So they gathered them up, and from the fragments of the 5 barley loaves left by those who had eaten, they filled 12 baskets. And when the people saw the sign that he had done, they began to say, "This indeed is the prophet who is coming into the world." Friends, have you heard of the butterfly effect? The core of it, in short, is that supposedly a butterfly flapping its wings over Ecuador could set in motion a breeze, a slight breeze, maybe a zephyr, but eventually it becomes a breeze, and then that breeze combines with other breezes to become a wind, and eventually that wind becomes a current that eventually drops a hurricane over New Jersey. One tiny little butterfly. Billions of dollars of devastation. Today's gospel story goes out of its way to make a contrast between big things and small. And it opens our eyes to a parallel effect, parallel to the butterfly effect, what I'm going to call the bread effect. Let's look at how the story goes. It starts by going out of its way to speak of the bigness of big things. The Sea of Galilee. Now, it's not huge by world standards, but it was far and away the largest body of water in ancient Israel, so it was big by their standards. A large crowd had gathered, not just a crowd, which is a phrase that's often used throughout the Gospels, but a large crowd. They went up a mountain, not a rise, not a hillock, but a mountain. It was the time of the feast of the Passover, not the hugest festival for Jews, but it was one of the biggest. It was a big deal. It was a big time of year in a big place with a big crowd on a big lake. A crowd of 5,000. 5,000. And when Philip calculates the cost of feeding them, he says, a half year's wages. That's a lot of money. Big, big, big. And then compare that to the small. A boy. According to the strange word that's used here in the Greek, a small boy, a very small boy, maybe 3 or 4 years old. He carries loaves of barley, barley bread, the bread of the poor, not made from finely milled wheat flour, but a far coarser grain. What could a poor boy provide to feed 5,000 people? What are these 5 loaves among so many? 5 loaves, 2 fish, about as effective to that crowd as a butterfly flapping its wings over Ecuador, except for the bread effect. Now, scholars have argued for some time about just how those 5 loaves and 2 fish were able to feed the crowd. I'm not going to rehearse the different arguments for you, but I just say, I'm happy to leave the answer in the hands of the Son of God. I mean, water into wine, healing a little girl, calming the storm, walking on the water, bringing back Lazarus from the dead, one sign after another. Signs that Jesus was 100% both the Son of Mary and Joseph and 100% the Son of the Creator of the heavens and the earth. But here's the thing. This is a special sign because of where it's located in the Gospel of John. The first half of the book of John is called the book of signs, and interspersed between this teaching and that are various miracles called signs. Signs that the young man born in Bethlehem, the house of bread, not coincidentally, that Jesus, born in Bethlehem, could also trace his origin to the heart of the God who gave manna in the wilderness. 7 signs in the Gospel of John, and this is the 4th sign. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It has a special place because it's right there in the middle with 3 before and 3 after. It's similar to Psalm 23. You may not recall this, but the heart of Psalm 23 is, "Thou art with me. Thou art with me." The heart of the book of signs bears this headline: Jesus seeks out the inconsequentially small to change the incomprehensibly big. Think of that. Jesus seeks out the inconsequentially small to change the incomprehensibly big. Jesus seeks out he seeks out the silent prayer of the run-of-the-mill ordinary businessman in central Jersey to push back against the 40-mile convoy outside Kiev. Jesus seeks out a dream in a preacher to inspire the hearts of millions to a vision of racial equity. Jesus seeks out the loaves of bread we're bringing to church this week, seeks out the loaves of bread to make a dent in the enormous problem of food insecurity in New Jersey. Jesus seeks out the smile of a middle school girl, the smile of a little middle school girl, so that she could change the life of a classmate who had just about given up on herself. Jesus seeks out a man for years in solitary confinement in South Africa to overturn decades of apartheid. Jesus seeks out slivery wafers of bread and thimbles full of shared juice to overcome the power of sin and guilt and shame that they pretend to wield over you. Jesus carries an ordinary blood-stained piece of wood and hangs from it, and the course of human history is forever changed. My friends, please please, please, do not delude yourselves into thinking that we in the church are doing small things when we gather in Jesus' name and celebrate the supper. We may be a small group, I understand that, and we may seem small in importance compared to the movers and shakers of the world, and the gestures we perform may seem minute compared to tanks and hedge funds and the isms and phobias that divide the human family. But 5 loaves and 2 fish, the bread effect. In Jesus' hands, the small, while still small, is enough. It's enough. We who gather side by side with the 5,000, we are doing nothing less than beholding the dawn of the new creation of God, the making new of all things, the restoration of all that is broken and all who are sorrowful, swords into plowshares and spears into pruning hooks. That's what's happening. That's what's happening as we gather and share the bread and cup. Take heart, then, friends. Take heart. Take your little old heart. Take heart against a sea of troubles and lift it up. Lift up your heart to the Lord. For Jesus has sought you out. Who knows? Who knows what he will make of you? What thousands he may feed, what life he may save, what conflagration of hope he may ignite, what new thing he may do. That's the good news for this week, folks. I pray that you will find a word of encouragement and hope in it, especially for those times when you feel inconsequentially small, and know that Jesus seeks you out to change the big things of this world. If you happen to be able, you can be with us in worship this week. We're going to be collecting loaves of bread from folks. If you aren't able to do that, you are also more than welcome to participate by leaving a donation at the church's website, and I'll include the web address for the church's website at the end of this video. For now then, God be with you, God bless you, and give you peace. See you next week.